Good morning, darlings, and happy vlog day. It is actually Tuesday today. Oh, you can see it right there. It's actually Tuesday today. The children are here. But first of all, what I got to talk about isn't too crazy. Second of all, their kids on summer break. They are asleep. Third of all, I had to tell myself, like, why? Why don't you want to do your vlog when anybody is in the house? Anything that you say can literally be searched and found. And so whether the person is in this family or outside of this family, if they want to, figure out what you're thinking, they could just follow you at Harley Hendrix 614. Shout out to that real quick little promotion. But anyways, truthfully, I just don't want to get behind on my content. And I think this past weekend was a chilling reminder that, like, I really haven't mentally been taking the fact that, like, I'm gonna have two children in my home around me all the time in, like, full consideration. I also realized that, like, I'm so removed from the situation because I'm kind of, like, dealing with my own mental shit that I don't realize that, like, if I'm gonna be here in this situation, like, this is my responsibility. This past Friday, my mother-in-law just dropped the kids off because she got upset at the oldest. And that experience, because me and my partner had plans, and those plans had to get pretty much canceled because the kids were here. And, truthfully, I don't believe that the teen is mature enough to be left alone. Boy, 16. He has been left alone, I'm sure. But I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't go outside and he be in my house and there's no adult downstairs and I'm okay with it. No. So we stayed home this weekend. And that kind of grounded me and kind of like, ooh. Because honestly, I had taken for granted mentally that the grandmother was like, she's going to get them. So I thought I wasn't going to see these kids during summer. I was kind of mentally telling myself, like, I had at least July to just kind of, like, vibe out. And then when the school year start, tag, I'm it. No, not the case. And honestly, today we were going to talk about crochet. I had my stuff laid out. I'm going to talk to y'all about kind of like where I'm headed with crochet. But I got thinking about the weekend and thinking about everything that went through. And something else came up for me that felt a little bit more relevant. We will talk about crochet likely next week unless something better comes up. We'll figure it out. But the question that came up for me is, how much grace should we give ourselves and our partners and our friends and, the people that we spend time around for things that we identify as, like, character flaws from their upbringing? And what brought me to asking this question is Friday, as I just spoke about, my mother-in-law got upset with the oldest because of, I think he cooked at her house. Well, no, I can't look at my face like that because she's not wrong for being upset. He got up in the middle of the night at like 1 a.m. and made some food in her house. Now, my mother-in-law does not have a microwave in her house. So it's not like he got up and heated up some pizza. The boy turned on the oven at 1 a.m. in the middle of the summer in this woman's house. I don't blame her for having an attitude. I don't blame her for having an attitude. However, I truly wish as an adult who knew that the adults that she had made an arrangement with had plans, that she was more mature and found another way to discipline her grandchild. Instead, she acted in a very immature way, in my opinion, and just dropped the child back off to his father. And then when we talked to her on Sunday, when she called to wish my partner a happy Father's Day, which in the midst of wishing him a happy Father's Day also exhibited a high amount of emotional immaturity, she finally, let us know that, like, she told him, I'm gonna let you go home and experience your daddy so you can realize how good you got it here. In my opinion, that's very emotionally immature. You are a grown-ass woman. You are 50 years old. Discipline your grandson for disrespecting your house and keep your word to the adults who actually had plans and agreed with you on those plans. And so when I thought about that moment, I started thinking about the adult children of emotionally immature parents. And it's a book, actually. It's not just the concept. And after reading that book, I've always known that my mother was emotionally immature. I just think that because it's my mother, it was hard for me to be able to say, like, you shouldn't be doing that. You should be a little bit further along than that. But if we're being real, most people my age are being raised by a generation of emotionally immature adults. And a lot of us are parenting our parents. How many of us take to the internet and see our peers fussing about our parents not taking their vitamins, our parents not doing things they're supposed to do, our parents not listening to us, our parents disrespecting us, whatever, not in a negative way, but you know what I mean. And it made me realize that, like, a lot of the things that we have issues with one another in these relationships legitimately come from being raised by people who didn't understand how to communicate. Like, I remember a while ago in my vlog, I told you guys about a situation where my mother-in-law came in this very room that I'm sitting in. And instead of just simply asking me to sew a pair of pants for her, tried to, like, start a conflict. Because she lacks the ability to communicate in certain ways. Just like my mother will tell my other sister that she mad at me, and she will say it with so much passion that she knows that my sister gonna come tell me, and then she will sit and wait for me to come tell her, hey, Shay told me you was mad at me, what's going on? Instead of directly coming to me and telling me what's going on. I am not gonna lie to y'all, this morning when I was just kind of preparing for my day and getting ready to do my video today, I wanted to make this all about my mother-in-law. I wanted to make this issue all about my in-laws and say these people are emotionally immature, and one day I'm gonna wake up and have to leave this fucking house and this life in this family with them, because I am not going to keep on dealing with the emotionally immature. But then I realized that as much as I feel that way, nothing in me is excited about packing up and going back to my mother's house. And the reason that I don't want to go back to my mother's house is not because there's no love there. There's a ton of love there, but there is also a 60-year-old child living in my mother's house. It's my mom. I love my mother. I love my mother. But she's a 60-year-old toddler. And I love it. I think it's necessary for parentified adults to have a space to experience their childhood. That's why I give my partner a lot of grace. I give him a lot of space. There's a lot of immaturity that he displays, but he, as the oldest son, was a parentified child who essentially is a childish adult. Now, me being a child, because I was the baby, I'm a very mature, very serious adult, right? My partner is a parentified child who is a childish adult. My mother is a parentified child who is a childish adult. His mother, who loves me more than any of her other daughter-in-laws, is a parentified child who is now a childish adult. And his father, who is 90 years old and loves me more than he loves his other daughter-in-laws, is a childish adult who I wouldn't even say was a parentified child. The man just survived sharecropping, Jim Crow, and all these other things in this country. And so now he don't got nothing but laughs for the world, right? All four of those people, plus 2 children who are well behind their developmental status as a 10 and a 16-year-old, are all what I care for on a day-to-day basis. I realize the reason that I put so much stake on my physical affection, that's why I get so angry when my partner and I don't have sex. That's why I was so in my feelings about this situation with the girl, because really, I need a release. I need something to help me with all of this immaturity that I find myself around, right? And in the midst of thinking about all of that, it made me ask myself something to ask to you guys. And honestly, if y'all watch my content today, this is the week I want to see some comments. I really want to see y'all in the comments talking to me. How much grace do you give a person? How much grace do you give a person when you recognize the issue that they have is generational, right? Like with my partner, how much space do I give him to learn to communicate before I say, you know what, maybe this ain't what I'm supposed to be doing? With me, how many times does he give me to express my emotions the first time before he gets tired of dealing with me holding it in, and then blowing up on him? That's why I had to tell myself, step back. Don't make this just about him. Because I ain't gonna lie to y'all. When I pivoted from crochet into emotionally immature parents and how much grace should I give a person, it was just gonna be me letting you know all the ways in which him, his mama, and sometimes his whole family have pissed me off and made me wonder how much longer can I stay here and deal with that. But then I remember that when I think about walking away from dealing with that, I think about dealing with my mother, and I realize that maybe I should give this situation a little bit more grace. And then I realize that maybe, just maybe, we all need a little bit more grace because we are all being raised by people who have not been able to have such deep level conversations as some of us have been able to have. I give my mother and even his mother and shit, even his father who was 90 grace, because honestly, being alive in this world is a lot. And I think about these mothers. His mother raised 4 children. My mother raised 6 children, along with the fact of hearing that both his mother, excuse me, both his mother and my mother have housed extended family members. Like, every one of my mother's siblings have lived with us and all of their kids. That's why when my cousins start acting stupid and trying to mistreat my family, like one of my cousins was trying to mistreat my mother and my sister. When my sister died, I blocked her, and I still have no words for her because, bitch, you laid on my motherfucking couch. You laid on my couch while your motherfucking kids was in my house. I know, because I literally used to come home from work or school, whichever one that was that I was at, and grab grab her twins and bring her twins in a basement with me. You used to be sitting, chilling, drinking with my sister, the same sister that you bash right now to this day, while my mother and my family was taking care of you. That's why I don't fuck with it. And I never fuck with my cousin until she apologized to my mother and my big sister Shay, period. And so if any of y'all are my family who watch this consistently and y'all know which cousin I got blocked, please understand that I have nothing to say to her until she has an apology for my mother and my sister. I digress. That's not even what we're supposed to be talking about. But I say that to say that there is so much brokenness, there is so much pain, there is so much just adversities in all of these families, and a lot of this negativity shows up as immaturity. And then we get into relationships with people, essentially each other, and I feel like we kind of judge each other's sin. It's kind of like church. It's kind of like church for me. It's like I want to judge my partner because his family is extremely expressive, and they're extremely, and they gonna tell it. You know what I mean? Like, if one person, if you piss off one person in their family, by the end of the week, everybody know. And I used to be like, oh my God, why don't they just keep more things to themselves? And I'm pretty sure that sometimes he looks at my family and he's like, y'all crazy and y'all fake. Y'all sitting here smiling, hugging, screaming and hollering, kissing and hugging and crying and all of this other shit. When in reality, you mad at her. You got an attitude at her. You looking at him crazy. Why won't y'all just be honest with each other? And it made me realize that none of us stand on high enough to be able to judge somebody else. I really was about to attempt to do that this morning in front of this camera with my family, with my in-laws, and it's not fair. They don't deserve that. And I'm not going to put that on them. Can his mother be emotionally immature at times? Absolutely. Excuse me, but so can mine. And if I can find it in me to have grace for my mother as I figure out how to untangle the knots that have been tangled within my psyche because of her, then I can find it in me to have grace for him. Now, what I will say is I see myself getting better. A few weeks ago or a few vlogs ago, I made a very clear expectation to myself to start speaking up and being more aggressive because I do come from a more passive household. I've been speaking up. Shit, my partner will tell you, I've been speaking the fuck up in this relationship. He do some shit, what's that? He say some shit, I don't like that. He didn't watch me do it outside. He didn't watch me do it to other people. You not playing. No, I'm not playing. I saw it as a flaw. I fixed it. Even with my dental care, don't get me wrong. It did take a tragedy. That big ass thing on my face was what got the ball rolling. Excuse me. But I also commend myself for not doing what I always do, which is go get my antibiotics, get the antibiotics, and then not go to the dentist. And I've been upkeeping my teeth, guys. Look, I've been doing white strips. Everything looks good. Even when I'm sitting here talking to you, looks good, feels good. I feel good. Hold on, let me get the computer on, y'all. All right, I'm back. And so for me, the answer to that question, I would not measure the grace. However, I have a clear expectation of forward movement. And so if I do not see you, first of all, I have two clear expectations. My first expectation is that you actually see an error in the behavior. My second expectation is that now that you see an error in the behavior, there is active change to fix it. For instance, the reason that I am still in this relationship with my partner is because he himself have said, this is unnecessary, about situations with his mother, about even sometimes the way he will show up. He'll be like, I didn't need to do that. I didn't need to be that loud. I didn't need to be da-da-da-da. Correct. Right. And I see him fixing it. Now, in the midst of him fixing it, he does still do things that are very hurtful to me. And I think that's kind of what I want to talk through today, because I'm pretty sure that I do things that are still frustrating to him, right? Like saying I'm okay when I'm not okay, or, telling somebody else that I have an issue with him instead of him. Like, I know for a fact that this is not a one-way street. However, I'm the only person talking, so it's gonna be a one way today. No, I'm joking. But yeah, it is. I'm not gonna sit here and critique myself. If somebody wants to critique me and how I show up in their relationship, they need to get a camera and a YouTube page and do it on their own time. It's my time. But I'm not gonna go crazy. But the reality of the situation is, I had to realize in a lot of situations and from a lot of experiences that a lot of our parents are either currently a little bit less mature because of the responsibilities provided to them during their upbringing, or they actually there are just some people that ain't got it. Some people that ain't got it. And I check for those two things. I check for those two things when I'm interacting with their children or I'm interacting with their grandchildren. For instance, my stepsons are still learning that first thing. Like, they're still learning the issue with what they're doing, right? Like, the oldest. Why somebody got to tell you to wash your face? You're 16 years old and you like a girl. I thought when boys started liking girls that they start remembering their hygiene. Come to find out, it's only when they're going to go see the girl. So if you just gonna be in the house and you ain't going to see nobody, you ain't gonna wash your ass. That's nasty. And I don't think that's immaturity. I just think that that's something that boys go through. So I guess it is still immaturity. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Essentially, this week, what I'm saying, I'm sorry, excuse me, is a lot of the things that we show up in relationships with, we didn't develop. The phrase that's coming up for me right now is, how you were raised wasn't your fault, but it is your responsibility to grow up. All of us have a responsibility to ourselves to unlearn the things that we know are unhealthy about our lives. And in order to do that, you got to be honest with yourself. And if I can't appreciate my in-laws for anything, I will for sure always appreciate them for how comfortable they made me in brutal honesty. Because truthfully, brutal honesty is the only way to get over the hurdles of emotional immaturity. Now, some of them will be brutally honest and still look you in your face and say, but this is how I'm going to act, and you can't tell me not to act that way. Honestly, that is his mother in a lot of ways. Like, she will say, I didn't have to communicate like that. And then she will still do it and tell you, I don't give a fuck what I didn't have to do. I did it anyways. My partner as well will do that. Like, he will know that there is a better way to handle something and not handle it the better way, and then say to you, I know I didn't handle it the better way. Um, and there are people in this world that are like that. There are people in this world that will do things that are wrong, essentially, and know that they are wrong. Or I would say do things that are unhealthy. They will do things that are unhealthy. They will know those things are unhealthy, and they will stand behind them. And in those situations, my question this week is, what does grace look like? Um, I'll be honest. For me, grace has changed in those situations. When I first got into this relationship, it looked like constantly talking to my partner, kind of constantly trying to go back to the drawing board. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? Now, these days, 7 years into the relationship, these days, I have gotten to a place where it's like, if this is what you're choosing to do, I'm not going to choose to do this, and that. Because, for instance, if my partner decides that he wants to be a little lazy, because that's some immature shit, he decides he don't feel like being a parent today. I don't even got to give a hypothetical. Give me a second, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. But this is why we're here, right? We're finna wrap up in a minute. I don't even got to give a hypothetical. I thought about it. This past weekend, remember I told you the whole situation that happened with my mother-in-law dropping the kids off on Friday. Friday, me and my partner still went out. We just took the kids to my brother-in-law's house, because my brother-in-law has littles, and my teen was able to watch his littles. What the hell? I'm sorry, y'all. Give me 1 second. My bad. My computer was acting up. It still is, but I'm gonna just finish this up because I can't do two things at once. Our team was able to watch the littles over Friday night, and then the brother had to drop the boys off on Saturday morning because he had something else to do. I think he had to go to work and his kid's gonna be gone, whatever. My partner and I, we party hard, okay, y'all? We party hard. We're rock stars. We party into the morning sometimes. That Saturday was one of them days we partied into the morning. The kids showed up. First of all, when I saw the sun coming up, I said, "Babe, it's time to start reeling this in and getting this house prepared to be parents." Him, no, we having our time. Da, 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 da. He wasn't mad at me. He was lashing out internally at his mother. His response to her emotional immaturity is to just be angry everywhere but with her, right? So while we are hanging out, chilling, doing what we do, I'm watching him like, hell nah, because I wasn't even supposed to be having to deal with this. I was supposed to give my sons tomorrow Father's Day. I asked for my whole weekend, da, da, da. And he's snapping. He's not snapping at me, but he's snapping. And as a result of that, when the boys got here, we didn't stop what we was doing. He got up, he put on enough clothes to get the boys moving around to wherever they was going. And he came back in here and was trying to continue to get busy. Grace for me in that moment looked like holding space for him and finishing up the session because I understood he needed that release. But then standing up for myself, right, looked like after that release, I said, baby, I'm not going to sit in this room all day naked because you still want to play, because you want to lash out at your mother for what she didn't do. She didn't keep the kids this weekend. We got to let that go. I'm about to get up and I'm about to clean this house up. So when they're done doing what the chores that they're doing, the house is ready to receive them. We've been drinking all night. I'm sure the house smells like alcohol. I'm sure it looks disheveled in here. This is not how I want my children to experience life after coming home. And he was like, no, I understand. And thank you. You know what I mean? He received that well. If I stand up for myself and you don't receive it well, then I'm not going to be able to continue to give you grace. Like, or like when it comes to doing the youngest son's hair. I twist the youngest son's hair because he has locks, even though he's about to get his hair cut before he starts his new school year. I'm so happy he finna get his hair cut. I'm so tired of doing that little boy hair. I really wish my partner seriously get his hair cut because I'm tired of doing both of their hairs. But anyways, if he doesn't wash his son's hair, I won't do it. And then when his son's hair isn't done and he either doesn't look presentable where he's going or, he doesn't feel good about himself, then my partner has to realize that I need to be more mature in this situation so the other adult can be mature. At the beginning of the relationship, I was burning myself out because at the beginning of the relationship, if he didn't wash the son's hair, I would get up a little earlier, wash the son's hair, do the son's hair, all while I'm still at work, and make everything work for everybody. I realized that me going out of my way to make everything work for everybody has created a false narrative within my partner, his co-parent, his mother, other people, the children, that I'm going to always feel every gap, no matter what's going on. The issue with me filling every gap is that I'm human too. So if I'm waking up at 5 in the morning, doing your son's hair while working a full-time job, while building my business that nobody helps me with, while making my content that nobody helps me with, while also just trying to be a human fucking being and have a social life and balance the fact that one day I woke up and didn't have any children and now I have two, I'm gonna fucking implode. And then if you add to that the fact that we are having issues with our romantic intimacy, bro. Some days I look at my life and my situation and I wonder how I'm surviving. But then I realize I'm a badass. I'm a boss. And I am an observant enough human being that I know how to change my patterns. For instance, I'm not burning myself out no more in this relationship or anywhere else. And I've said this multiple times on this camera, and I mean it. The grace that I'm going to give my partner for the way in which he was raised and the way that shows up in his life does not extend to my mental health. And I had to remind myself that, and I want to give y'all that as we wrap up this week. Give the people you love grace because we are all being raised by people who did not know what they were doing. And we don't know what we're doing. And the kids that we raising ain't going to know what they doing and so forth and so forth on. We all are struggling with something. We all are unlearning something. So give people grace, but also check in with yourself. You shouldn't be doing it all just because somebody else been through a lot. You shouldn't be abused just because somebody else has been. If somebody comes into your life and they have been abused, they don't have a right to abuse you just because abuse is all they know. Just like you don't have a right to abuse somebody else because abuse is all you know. We have to start to be more accountable to ourselves and the people around us, period. There is no way in this world that I, as a woman, can feel comfortable getting into a relationship with a man and yelling and screaming at him every day just because my mother yelled and screamed at me. Now, my mama ain't never yelled and screamed at me, but I was just giving that example. But I will give a real example for myself because I feel more comfortable with authentic examples. I had to stop telling my partner I was okay and then sitting in a corner imploding. My mother does that. My mother did it to us as kids, and it makes you over considerate of people. I constantly check in with people because I don't know if a person really is mad at me, and I have to accept and acknowledge that comes from being raised by a passive aggressive woman. As a result, I try not to be passive aggressive. I let my stepsons know when I got a fucking problem with them. Y'all not closing these cabinets, y'all not turning these lights off, y'all pissing me off. However, I am doing my best, and I am still working on it, not to yell at them. I know that yelling is what they know. And when I have tried to be more calm, it has not been as well received. But I don't want to meet them at that level. I feel like I did that when I was teaching. When I was teaching, I taught kids on the west side of Chicago, and I recognized how their mothers talk to them, and I started talking to them like their mothers. Now, that made me successful in teaching, but is that truly conducive to their developmental growth? I don't believe so. I don't believe so. Like, in this relationship, I've become more stern with my partner and I've gotten a little bit more aggressive. However, I've also let him know that I'm not going to yell and scream at you. I'm not your mother and you don't deserve that and you shouldn't even normalize that. We've gotten better. And so that is my thought for the question that I asked. The question that I asked is, how much grace do we give a person when we recognize that their character flaws are a result of their upbringing? I believe that that level of grace is not measurable. However, it is too much if you find yourself doubting yourself, arguing with yourself, getting into it with yourself over this person in this situation. If this person in this situation has you looking at yourself a little crazy, then I vote that it is time to, excuse me, that I vote that it is time to reevaluate the relationship. When I started to realize that I was burning myself out, I reevaluated the relationship and I realized that I could stay, but I have to stay and create these boundaries. You too can see that. There are going to also be situations where you evaluate the situation and you realize there's no way for you to stay. Do not feel down on yourself for needing to leave a person who has gone through a lot. A lot of us stay in people's lives because, oh my God, they've been through so much. Their mama left them. Their auntie left them. I don't want to be the person that leave them. Let me tell you something. You can't leave you to not leave them. The amount of grace that you will give any person going through anything in this life cannot be more than the grace that you give yourself to say, I don't deserve this. Some people are doing their very best, and that is not enough for us. At one point in my life in this relationship, I truly believed that my partner was doing his very best, but it was not enough. And as I started to prepare my exit plan, I saw that he took his best and upped it because he felt it was not enough. And I appreciate that and I received that. And that is the reason that I still sit here today. I also, my final point, would constantly evaluate. If I were in, well, as I am in this relationship, I constantly evaluate. So I want to encourage you guys to constantly evaluate. Just because you're here today, don't mean you're going to be able to be here tomorrow, and you have to be honest with yourself about it. And I say that to say, you don't need to be in any environment that you wish you wasn't in. Don't give a person grace to the point where you wish you wasn't in a relationship no more. Please still be happy in the relationship. I am still happy in this relationship, which is why I'm here. However, if my happiness slips, if I find myself feeling burnt out again, I absolutely will have to leave this relationship because there is no way that I can continue to burn myself out in this way. Now, I don't see any signs of that happening anytime soon because, like I said, everything has been going really great. And I pray that things continue to go great. However, these levels of communication within yourself is necessary at all times. You always, I won't say need to be prepared to leave a person alone, but you always need to be prepared to know what's next. And that don't mean who's next, right? That doesn't mean what relationship is next. You always need to know what's going on in your life. Me vlogging is my way to figure out what's going on in my life. Where do I want to go? That's why some weeks just sound like mindless rants. And I appreciate those of you who hang out and stay. I would love to hear from y'all in the comments about what things are you unlearning? What things have you had to forgive a partner for? What things have you had to forgive a friend for? I feel like if some of my friends were able to be more forgiving of the way that I communicate, we could still have been friends. If I had been more forgiving of the way some of my friends show up, maybe we could have been friends. And so I do think about those things. And I would love to hear from you guys this week. This week, I feel so good. I feel good because I realize that my grace does not have to come lacking boundaries. And now that I've put boundaries around my grace, I feel very secure and beautiful and happy in this relationship. And it's not because of anything my partner has done, because he hasn't changed his actions at all. I've just changed the way in which I see these actions, and I realized that the perspective in which I was looking at them from was that of someone who wanted to be a victim. I'm unlearning that. That's something that I'm unlearning from my past. I hope that you are unlearning things from your past. I hope this man unlearning shit from his past, because I ain't got time to tell somebody else my new fucking favorite color. I love y'all, and I hope y'all have a good week. Let me get to work.